Hello, everybody, and welcome or welcome back to the second shelf and to a tag video on a Sunday. Can you believe it? I haven't done a tag in months. And for all of you who might have tagged me, you creators, fellow creators, sorry. I just don't have time to fit tags in my schedule a lot. But it's not that I'm forgetting, I write that down. And this one is the book acquiring tag. And I even have the questions on my phone. How prepared am I? And the tag was created by Kristin from Enter the Book. And I was, I will leave a link to the original video down below, of course. And I was tagged by Shelly from Shelly Swearingen decades ago. So thank you, Shelly, for tagging me, and sorry that it took so long. But here we are. There are 9 questions, and they are all about your book buying habits. And I thought that was a fun thing to do today, because this is my video number 500. And I know now somebody in Boston, Steve, is really laughing very hard because he has like 5,000 videos made in the same time. But for me, 500 is a nice number. So I thought a tag video would be a good way talking about my habits of buying books, because that's what we all do, book lovers, now don't we? So the first question is, do you plan your book purchases ahead, or do you impulse buy? And of course the answer is both. So I do plan my purchases ahead, for instance, for buddy reads. So now we are in June. I know the buddy reads that will come up, and then I buy those books, or books that I want to read for a project, like my 1001 books by women that I need to read before I die. I pick a couple, and if they are not on my shelf, I buy those. The same for these ongoing read-alongs that I participate in, like the Book Naturalist Book Club, or sometimes Invisible Cities, Mel's Read Around the World Book Club. So these type of books, I know that I want to read them in a given month, and I order them, and I always order those books in one go. So I take a couple of an hour or something to plan my reading for the next month, and then I order the books. But if I go to a bookstore, I order them with a bookstore mostly. But if I just go to a bookstore, which I haven't done that much, obviously, in 2021 and 2020 because of the C word, and bookstores were closed a lot of the time here. But if I go to a bookstore, it's just there to browse. I hardly ever go. It's not true. Sometimes I have a list and then I order them directly in the shop. But for me, the pleasure of a bookstore is the browsing without any, plan of buying a certain book. So both. And then number 2, how do you decide what books to buy? I think more or less I answered them. They are books that are on the to read for the next month because of buddy reads and things like that. And other books I just pick. I have a pile of unread books on various shelves, and at the beginning of a month, or sometimes beginning of a week, I go through the shelf and pick books out that I think I want to read in the month. But sometimes that changes. So the books that I'm committed to because of read-alongs or buddy reads, I just read those, of course. And if I have to pick books for myself, I have to. If I can pick books for myself, it's partly planned and partly just, spur of the moment kind of thing. And the last thing, spur of the moment, certainly with regards to rereads. I tried to plan rereads because I wanted. We have a case of bleeding lipstick. Sorry about that. I wanted to spend more time rereading books, and that didn't work for me, the planning thing. I need to pick books to reread just, on the spur of a moment. 3, what is your philosophy on where you shop, online, in person? Well, I love to purchase in the shop. But I think if you follow my channel, you know that I live in Germany, in Cologne now at the moment, and my reading consists of 99.9% English books, not necessarily written in English, but translated into English, so available in English. I read very, very few German books, unfortunately. Yeah. And it's very difficult in a store to get English books. So I can order them in the store, but I can do that online as well. I mean, most stores have online shops where I can order them and then I pick them up. So I always, when I still lived in Holland and Amsterdam, in Amsterdam, there are 4 really huge English language bookstores. There's a Waterstone, there's an American bookstore, there's 2 used bookstores, and the big Dutch bookstore also carries a really, really big department of English store. So I never had issues there. But since I live in Germany, most of what I do is order them, either the online shop of my bookstore, and if I can't get it there, the used books, I have a couple of addresses, used bookstores that I order from. And I try also to order used books because of budget reasons. What about little free libraries? Number 4, by the way. I think that's brilliant. We do have them here as well in Germany. As coincident has it, I have one just across the street. We call them little book, not wardrobe, but cupboard or something. So something, but something similar. But we don't call them little libraries, and it's fantastic. But again, most of those books that I can find there are German books, German language books. So translated also, and if I put English language books in there, chances are that nobody wants them. So I love the idea, but it's difficult for the type of book that I want to read and the type of book that I want to put there. But I occasionally, if it's a thriller or something, I do put English books in there, and then if it's not gone after 2 months, I take it out again. Number 5, how do you feel after acquiring a book? Do you share like in a book haul or diary? First of all, I always feel good. I love browsing. I love buying books. I love looking for books. So the whole thing, and then if it's online, if I do it online, I have to put my phone down because I have to talk with both hands. You know, the blooper with the flapping, I always talk with my hands. So if I buy online, it's twice. The pleasure is twice, because the picking out and the ordering, and then when they come, yeah. And I have to say, I order a lot of books online through online shops or the online shop of the bookstore, and most of the time it's going just fine. I had one incident last week with books that I ordered for buddy reads, and I wasn't home, and if in Germany, if you're not home, the package is then stashed at the post office near you, and you can pick it up the next day. So I went there the next day. It wasn't there yet. That's what they said. I went there a day after. Turned out it was never there. It was sort of lost, but in the end, everything worked out fine. So normally I'm really happy with the delivery system, but it's also easy for me because I work from home a lot. So I am home a lot, and I hardly ever miss the book delivery guy. So that's an advantage. Number 6. Oh, and I do share them in a haul. Not all of them, but I make haul videos at least once a month, and I always write them down. In my bullet journal, which is all about reading, I put in the books that I bought, also how much I spent, and then under that, the books that I read. So yes, I have my own bookkeeping. and I do hauls. Number 6, how do you feel looking at your books that haven't been read? Does it matter if it's currently a lot or a little amount? I don't really care. I mean, I think at times, like I did with my book called Revisit, all the books that I acquired since being on BookTube, or at least not all the books that I acquired, because I don't do book hauls with every book, and I didn't do book hauls in the first year. But the books that I hauled on video, I had a look through after 6 years. How many did I read and what is still unread? But I don't look at it's not the number that I think, oh, I have to get my TBR down to 0, or I have to. No, it's just that I think it's good, for me at least, to remind myself that I still have those books unread. And I have, like I said, one little bookcase. That's what it's called, the little bookcase, not the little book cupboard, the little bookcase. Anyway, so I have one a bookcase with unread books, but I also have unread books on my regular shelves, because before I started BookTube, I didn't even know the word TBR, and books that I bought, normally I put them in a stack next to my bed or next to the couch to read them, and if I didn't read them in the first week or the second week, they just went in the bookcase. And now I sticker them. Yes, I'm German and I'm a nerd. And it's good for me. It's more to remind myself that which books I still haven't read, but I'm not focusing on a certain number. If you follow my channel, have been following my channel for some time, you know my system. That's why I keep I have bookkeeping, how many books I buy in a month and how many books I read. And my only rule is that I have to read more books than I bring into the house, whether it's bought or presents or what have you, but mostly bought. And that's my only rule. And if in 1 month it didn't happen, like in May it didn't happen, I bought 2 more books than I read. But at the end of the year, I will always end up with a minus. So I will always have read more books than I have bought. And that's my only rule, and that's fine. I don't even care how long they stay unread, really. Number 7, how do you decide what number of unread books is the right amount? I've answered that. I don't have a right amount number. I don't feel pressure to have a certain number. There's nothing wrong if that works for you. But for me, this system, like I just explained, reading more than buying, that works perfectly fine. And it keeps my unread books always in a certain range between 50 and 100, if I count everything. So that works fine. Number 8, do you have a TBR game or process for reading them? No. I was thinking of maybe doing that. I love those. I think Doris had that also with the TBR game, where she put every unread book, the name of the unread book on a piece of paper and put it in a bowl, and then she took one out every month, or 5 every month or something. And I was thinking of maybe doing something like that, but on the other hand, I know that this probably will not work for me, because the books that are not scheduled, like I said earlier, for a buddy read or a read along or something, or book group, so the books that are just free for me to choose, I don't think it will work. I will probably end up, picking out a piece of paper, reading it, and no, I don't want to read this, putting it back so it probably doesn't make sense. I just look at the shelves and the bookcases, and then I pick some. Number 9, do you have a book buying problem? If so, what is the nature of it, and can it be adjusted? No, I don't think so. I mean, books are I don't have a problem. I don't consider it a problem. Books are really the only quote unquote luxury that I give myself. And the fact that this, system of buying less than I'm reading also means that the number in terms of how much it costs stays always in the same range. And I do admit I spend a lot of money on books. Yes, it's probably €100 or something a month, which amounts to quite something in a year. But that's fine. I don't have any other expensive hobbies. I don't buy many clothes. You probably have noticed that because I have always, I keep repeating the same blouses or clothes that I'm just not into that type. I mean, I like a nice blouse and don't mind spending money, but it's maybe once a year or twice a year that I buy something new for myself. And the last really expensive thing that I bought was last year, and that were new glasses, and I needed them, and I wanted to have a nice frame. But other than that, I don't have a car. I don't go out to fancy restaurants. I hardly ever go have fancy vacations or resorts where you spend a lot of money. So I like spending money on books. I'm an author myself. I know it's good that you buy books, that the author earns a little bit of money. I want to support bookstores, so I have no issue at all spending like €100 or something a month on books. So there you go. This was the book acquiring tag. And of course, the last question was originally that you have to tag people, but this tag is, I think Shelly might have even tagged me last year, to be honest. So if you are maybe new to BookTube, or if you have missed this tag and you're making videos and you're watching this now, you're tagged. And otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the tag. Always looking forward to your comments. You know that. Tell me about your book buying habits, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.